Hi everyone, I'm Liz Brown Swanson and welcome to Around the Peninsula. Today I'm at the Palos Verdes Country Club with a very special organization that helps seniors. That group is the Palos Verdes Peninsula Village, and they are hosting their annual event with some very prominent experts on senior citizen issues who are here today to talk about the upside of aging and how getting older is getting better.
This is our annual gift to the community. It's a conversation about the upside of aging, and it's an opportunity for us to talk about and think about and engage about what it means to be an older adult in America right now.
More than 300 local senior citizens heard from aging experts about what it takes to age successfully in America and how the Palos Verdes Peninsula Village is part of a nationwide movement to help seniors age in place at home.
We have a number of programs, social events, and to fight isolation, to help broaden people's circle of friends. And we have services that our volunteers and members share with one another, like fixing a broken smoke alarm, or running an errand to the grocery store, or giving someone a ride to a doctor's appointment, or helping them figure out how to use their iPad. Those are examples of the kinds of help that we give to each other.
And again, the concept of the village, a national concept, and the idea is let's keep seniors at home as long as they can be. Talk about that philosophy that really is part of the village.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Liz. It's all about staying settled and staying connected and staying engaged in the community where you live. And aging in place is really the cornerstone of that. People are much happier when they get to stay in the communities that they know and love.
It's great to be with you, Kathleen. You're a member of the Palos Verdes Peninsula Village. Why did you decide to join?
Well, I had gone to the original meetings, and I knew a lot of people that were involved in the startup of this organization, and I knew it would be something that would be good for me because I have lived in my house for over 30 years, but I want to stay there, and I'm getting to an age where things could happen and I might need some help.
You did need some help. Something did happen. Tell us your story.
Well, one morning I got up to get the newspaper and my cat ran out and I ran to chase it and I slipped and fell and I broke my hip. And I was over at Torrance Memorial and then home, and I really needed some help, so I was very happy to have the village giving me the help that it did.
So how did they help you? Did they give you rides to the doctors, or how did they help you?
Well, one of the members went to my house where I had a downstairs bathroom I'd need to use for the shower, but it didn't have a safety bar, and she arranged to get that installed. She arranged for me to borrow a walker and a wheelchair, and they put me in touch with a home care company that was very, very helpful to me.
Marianne, it's great to be here with you at this very exciting event. First, congratulations on becoming the new executive director. Talk about that challenge you took on and what you're looking forward to now that you are leading this group.
Well, it was just a great opportunity that opened up for me. I know Colleen Cotter, the previous executive director, very well, and I always loved the village. I volunteered for it. I worked with seniors in other capacities. So when the position opened up right here in my hometown, I just jumped at it. I love the membership. I love the idea. The volunteers are just amazing, and it's just a great place to work. The whole village concept works because it's really a reciprocal arrangement between the members and the volunteers. They each give each other something, and our members, a large part of them, also volunteer, and every member actually gives back in some way. And then the volunteers are people that are from all over the community that didn't even know sometimes that they had one of our village members living right down the street from them, and it's an opportunity for them to get to know them, be part of their lives, and form a really strong community bond.
You said you were a volunteer prior. What are some of the things you did, and how do you know you're really making a difference and connecting with seniors?
Well, I volunteered in terms of giving rides to a few members, and I didn't know what to expect. I went up to a member's home and took them to the doctor's office, but I learned their whole history. I have met I have met people on the Hill that have lived here 60 plus years. So I get a whole history lesson on the way to the doctor and back. And I learn about their determination to remain independent and make their own decisions. And the village allows them to do that with people like me and other volunteers to help them get what they need.
What is the biggest need? Do you need more volunteers? Do you need more members? You need both to be, to make this work.
We really need both. We really need both. We've been a little bit on a hiatus in terms of recruiting volunteers, and we're just starting to recruit volunteers again. We need volunteers to do driving, but we also need volunteers just to be friends with some of these members. We have, many of them are very, very socially active, and others don't have any family or in the community anymore, and they need to develop more friendships.
You've been with the organization since the get-go 4 years ago. What, first of all, brought you to be involved with this group?
Well, my wife and I attended a presentation 4 years ago when they were considering forming a village and bringing it to the Palos Verdes. And we thought it just looked like a great idea. And so we immediately became volunteers. My wife is good with computers, so she helps members with their information technology stuff and drives. And I also drive and do some handyman work, and I'm now on the board of directors. And I help set up and organize and schedule programs and activities for the members.
Today's program, The Upside of Aging, is a big hit. It's happened before. You've got incredible speakers. Talk about the message of today.
Well, the upside of aging, as the title implies, and as you can see with the energy that's here, is we need to overcome sort of that stereotypic old folks declining, so on and so forth, and realize that there's a lot of wonderful things going on, a lot of things that we're able to do. Our speaker tonight, or this afternoon rather, is going to give us a big picture view because he has been very involved in issues and planning on the national level. So we're really going to have a chance to see some of the public policy perspective for the aging population, which is basically occurring everywhere in the United States. The population on the peninsula is more senior than average. Over 20% of the residents living in Palos Verdes are 65 or older, which is about twice the national average. And so it's interesting in that the biggest issue for seniors, one of the biggest issues that we have here, is isolation and loneliness. And if you're doing very well, but you're kind of living at home by yourself, all alone, particularly if you don't drive anymore, that can really be a challenge. And so what we like to do with our programs is not only just provide services to help people stay in their homes, but also activities and events so that they can get out for things like this. We have book clubs, we have discussion groups, we have luncheons, musical events, concerts, tours. And so we try to have something, at least one or two things every week that we can offer our members and volunteers to attend.
I've talked to people about the village. They say, like, where is it? They picture a physical, building, like a village, and we're still waiting for the senior center to get built. So, it's pretty amazing that the seniors don't actually have a physical spot like that yet.
Yeah, the village is not a place. The village is basically a model for helping people, seniors, stay in their homes as long as they wish to and as long as they're able to. And so a term that's frequently used is it's an intentional community, in that it's not geographic, but it's rather relationships.
And you're the program director, so what are some of the things you're working on? Anything new and exciting, or as...
Well, one thing that we did in the past that was very well received that we're going to repeat next year is called our Guided Autobiography, which is basically a class on how to write your personal memoir. And I took that class. It was taught by one of our members and one of the graduate students from USC. And over 4 or 5 or 6 weeks, you basically have a chance to write out a piece of what has happened in your life. You put it all together, and then you have a document that largely people want to leave for their kids or their grandkids, so that those questions they didn't get a chance to ask will be written down and answered.
So to do that, do you have to be a member?
Yes, this is something that we're offering our members. Another thing we're going to be starting in January is our health and wellness lecture series. And that's going to involve speakers from UCLA, but other Providence Little Company Mary, other local medical centers and medical providers. And so we're hoping that we can bring something unique, sort of senior focused, to the members and also the volunteers.
So what does it cost to be a member?
For an individual, it's $675 a year, and for a couple or a family, it's $975 per year.
We had a little different message this year that really looked at public policy and immigration and diversity, and I think there were a number of takeaway messages that there are diversity immigration issues, and that they're ones that are solvable, that how we talk to each other and what goes on at a very local level may be very different than the discourse on a higher level, that we really all want to get along, understand each other, build community, and have the ability to adapt and adjust to the aging experience. And that's part of what the Village is about, that individuals can stay in their homes as long as possible, live with dignity, and stay fully engaged in their community. And part of this is all part of successful and healthful aging. And I think our speaker today, Fernando Torres-Gil, really made that message very clear, the importance of this connection and building community.
Helen Dennis is a nationally known aging leader and newspaper columnist. She led the conversation with the director of UCLA's Center for Policy Research on Aging, and she serves on the Village Board of Directors and is encouraged by the group's growing success.
It makes sense. I mean, no one can get through this alone, okay? We are at a certain age where we're independent, we're resilient, and we can do what we want to do when we want to do it. But then comes a time where we may not be able to do that as well. And that should not necessitate us to immediately go into assisted living, although it's a valued residential phenomenon. But the fact that if we need to change a light bulb or take out a trash can and we can't do it anymore, that should not move us to the next level of living. So the Village is built like a community in the 1950s, where everybody knew each other, you took care of each other, you engaged with one another. But today, everyone lives all over. So we have disparate communities and families. So what we're recreating is what we do naturally, and that is building community, mutually supportive, mutually engaging, and enriching the quality of our lives. And this is how we want to experience aging. So the Village is allowing us to experience aging in the best possible way for as long as possible.
I think that it's hard for all of us to admit that we're getting older, but there is an upside to being older, right? So talk about some of the great things, the power that comes with being the age that we're at.
So being the age that we are is, I think we can be more discriminating. In other words, spending time where it counts. Being with people who we really want to be with, and not being distracted with peripheral kinds of things, and to have the self-confidence to move forward on that. And I think that's one of the beauties. And I think we can be authentic, we can be honest, we can be outspoken. And so I say, outspoken at a meeting, what are you going to do, fire me? I mean, we have a platform of experience, some wisdom, some knowledge, and we can have the self-confidence to use it. And I think that's one of the beauties of maturity.
Give us a little bit more about your background. You write a column nationally about senior issues and where your passion came from, and sort of a little bit about the history of what you do.
To make a long story short, it started when I was in graduate school looking for a thesis topic, wandering in a library, and picking up a book on cognition and aging. And I thought, I never thought about that. At the same time, my father-in-law was terminally ill with cancer, and he was in a long-term care facility. So I spent every day for a period of time with him. Although my area is not healthcare, the combination of knowing a little bit about aging academically and some personal experience said this is an intriguing field. I'm talking about the mid-'70s, when people thought gerontology was a skin disease like dermatology. People weren't talking about aging. And it intrigued me. And one thing led to another where I ended up at USC and directed projects and started teaching.
And talk about the column that you write.
So I write a column on successful aging. So a little bit on the backstory. About 17 years ago, I get a call from the managing editor of the Daily Breeze. She said, Hannah Sampson, who writes a column on seniors, is going to retire. Are you interested? Well, I've done a lot of things in aging. I've written, I've taught, I've done seminars, etc. But I never wrote a column. She said, are you interested? So I hesitated. I said, I think so. She says, well, come in and write a column, 600 words, 12 topics you think we should discuss, and bring it in. So I sit in her office. My heart is beating, thinking, oh, do they like what I wrote? They said, we like this. You can write a column. I said, I have a problem. I chronologically qualify as a senior, but the title, Seniors, as a column, I can't connect to. How about something aspirational, something that we all want to become, and how about successful aging? She said, fine. That happened 17 years ago, and I have to say, for the first 5 years, I never even mentioned I wrote the column. And I'll give you a short story. I walked into Whole Foods one day, and they said, oh, here comes the journalist from the Daily Breeze. I turned around. I had no idea who they were talking about. I didn't identify myself. So this is now 850 columns later. It's now syndicated in 12 papers and online and reaches a 1.6 million readership, which is an extraordinary platform for public education.
So what was your last one about?
The last one was a story of how I started. I said, that's just what I talked about. And the one before it is what happens when a woman continues to work and a husband retires first. How does that work in a relationship? And I should say the column is Q&A, and behind every question, there's a real person, which is why I think it's had longevity. But it's like teaching to an empty classroom. You have no idea what happens to it. So occasionally I hear that Aunt Fanny got it in Keokuk, Iowa. Another one puts a column in a file. You don't know what happens, but if I just have an impact on one person, I consider that a win.
As with the senior community, the thing everyone worries about is obviously getting sick, but I think it's about memory loss right now is huge. How are we doing as a community, as a country, to address what's happening with memory impairment, dementia, Alzheimer's, cognitive issues like that?
There is no solution to Alzheimer's disease. There is no well agreed upon cause. So we have a huge dilemma. If you think about the 85 plus is the fastest growing older population. And depending what you read, anywhere between 30 to 50% of people 85 and above will have some form of dementia. And we know at the very end of dementia, you need 24/7 care. We are not prepared as a society. That's number one. I think we're more aware of cognitive health. And there are a number of books that are out in terms of if we do cognitive exercises, does it improve our memory? But one thing we know, that intellectual engagement and learning anything new helps build neural pathways. So we know a little, there are no guarantees, but I would say intellectual engagement and challenge is probably our best tool at this point.
It's great to be with you, Margie, Executive Director of Peninsula Seniors, but at the PV Village event, because your organizations do share a lot in common and work together.
We work together to serve the seniors in our community. We also do things with PVE Cares, those three organizations, and also the library district. We have activities where we have shared interests.
Of course, and this today is about the upside of aging. What do you find was really important about coming to an event like this today?
To learn more about the community, for me to hear what else is out there and to be part of it.
We were very lucky that we had a lot of members join right at the beginning, and our membership's been fairly stable. Around 100, we have 105 members now, and that's kind of been the number all along since we've opened. And we've added a lot of volunteers, though, so our community is growing. And we would love to add both more volunteers and more members, and there's so many different ways to volunteer. Our social programs offer a number of ways. A lot of people they want to do home visits, call people, send birthday cards. I mean, it can go from that to, giving people rides to planning a large social gathering like one of our salons or one of our book clubs. It could be any form.
Here on Around the Peninsula, an organization like this to encourage seniors to be part of it is a little bit of a challenge.
It is a challenge. A lot of people think, oh, I'm not a senior. I'm not really feeling like an old person. I really don't need the village. But the fact of the matter is that, we're living our lives now a lot longer, and there's a lot more quality of life that is possible for people. And so it doesn't matter if people think, I'm too old or I'm not ready yet for a village. Everybody's ready for community. And that's what we are. We offer a community of people who give and receive and enjoy being together.
Joining me now is one of my favorite PV residents, former reporter with the PV News, and a fabulous senior here on the Hill, Pat Brown. You are a member of the village. First, tell us why you decided to become a member.
I think that I had heard somebody talk about the village at a different event that I went to, and I was thinking about it because I had a massive stroke about 2 years ago, and I stopped driving. So I really needed to get around. So I did call the village, and somebody came to talk to us, and we decided to do it. And that was actually 2 years ago, Liz. So I would say it's been a good decision for me. If you like to eat, we have a wonderful, wonderful program that happens once every other month. So we had one last week. It was the French-themed dinner. It was very nice. About 25 people came at the home of Kathy and Bob Swank. If you like to read, we have 2 book clubs, and I belong to both of them, but now just to one. So besides there's a lot of camaraderie, there's a lot of friendliness, and people are more than happy to help.
This is about the upside of aging. When you look at your life where you are now, what do you find is an advantage that you are at the age that you are, that it's to celebrate where you're at in life?
Well, I just found out that I'm going to be a great-grandma, and that was the most wonderful news that I ever had. But I think getting older, that's just a word. It's how you feel, it's what you do, it's how you express your thoughts and live life. So I don't think about being old.
It's all about staying settled and staying connected and staying engaged in the community where you live. And aging in place is really the cornerstone of that. People are much happier when they get to stay in the communities that they know and love.
And congratulations to the Palos Verdes Peninsula Village. What a turnout they had here today. If you need more information on the organization, you can log on to peninsulavillage.net. I'm Liz Brown Swanson reporting for Around the Peninsula. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.